Here are 15 of the best Ask Reddit stories for today. I hope you enjoy and remember to subscribe. It really helps us out. We post new videos every day.
What is the most ridiculous thing you have seen at a party? We threw a party that got way out of hand and too many people showed up. I go in my living room and a girl is in the couch petting a dog. I ask, whose dog is this? She says, the people who live here. I reply, I live here. This isn't our dog. A stray dog had been walking by and noticed a party happening and just walked inside and got on the couch and was being pet all night by drunk people. A friend of mine did a Scooby-Doo themed party where he DM'd people their costumes that they should wear. I got Shaggy. Simple enough, just a green shirt and brown pants. I walk in the door to the party, and I'm welcomed by the sight of 40 people, all dressed as Shaggy. It was glorious. A drunk guy in a full gorilla costume sitting on a couch outside sees a drunk guy in a full banana costume riding by on rollerblades. They both immediately stop and turn towards each other, and without a single word spoken, charge full speed at each other and begin wrestling. About a minute later, both get up, winded, and the banana guy rolls off into the sunset, never to be seen again. Therapist of Reddit, have you ever been genuinely scared of a patient and why? Person on the other side. Went to my university's psych hospital due to ideation. Was 18 at the time. I was lobbed in with the under 22 group and there's this fireman in his 20s who I'd learned through the grapevine was bipolar. No biggie, we all got something wrong in there, right? He was very quiet, decently attractive and kept to himself even in group sessions. He would always give me this penetrative, unblinking stare all day long. I'm very shy and hadn't spoken 2 words to the guy. Maybe smiled in passing if I made eye contact, which I avoided due to the staring. In the main room we'd all be hanging out and he'd sit across from me with a sketchbook. Honestly just thought he was passing time. Once you're committed you can't leave unless the doctor says so. Anyways, my mom comes to the hospital to visit me and she noticed the guy staring at me. She walks behind him while he's with his sketchbook and her entire body froze. Like completely locked up, as if you're watching a video and press pause. He had drawn a very detailed picture of me, hanging from the ceiling in the psych ward. She calmly tells the nurse and the guy is removed from the room. Never saw him again. A couple of days later I overheard some nurses saying that the guy had filled the entire sketchbook with different drawings of me, dead, in different scenarios. Honestly, it was scariest thing I've ever been through. Sister's stupidity destroyed my family. My sister let her boyfriend drive my parents' car. She took it when they were out. She only had a learner's permit, so she was supposed to have a licensed adult with her. She let her boyfriend, who was a year too young to have a learner's permit, drive and he crashed. He died. My sister was seriously injured. They think one or both of her feet were on the dashboard. She is paralyzed from the chin down. My parents' insurance isn't covering them since my sister took the car illegally, and her boyfriend's family are suing my parents. My parents tried to sue them back since he was driving, but it thrown out when they tried. We had to move to an apartment because my parents couldn't afford our house. I see them cry every day. I heard my mom say that going bankrupt doesn't get rid of the lawsuit debt, and their lawyers told them to try to settle before it goes to court because they will probably lose. My sister has to be in a home forever because she needs help and care 24/7,365. She remembers everything and her brain is not affected at all. Her medical and nursing home bills are so much money. My grandparents are all trying to help, but they are all in retirement homes and don't have much. I've seen them cry too. I know she is getting punished already because she's paralyzed almost completely, but I still can't even look at her because she destroyed our entire family. What is something you know about your parents that you shouldn't know? My mother and father had a deal that my father would get a job, so my mom could finish college, and then my mom would get a job, so my dad could finish college. My father did his part, and when it was his time to go back to college, my mom and all her family humiliated him into going back to work. My brother and I are not supposed to know this, we were too young, but I know. My mother once gaslit me because I saw her smoking. She convinced me I was wrong and made everyone think I was a liar. I was 5. I found it recently I wasn't wrong. I did see her smoking. She was ashamed, so hid it from everyone. As a young kid I overheard my parents screaming in another room about what age I was when my dad left us. Mom said 3 months. Dad said 3 years. I didn't know he left at all. At least he came back? Instead of discussing toxic masculinity, what does positive masculinity look like? Being a great and present dad? You can be strong, and still be kind. In fact, the greatest display of strength is to have power, and not use it. A real man is capable of being cruel, but chooses not to be. A real man can break you, but would rather build you up instead. It looked like when I went to the gym after being sick all week. The most buff superhuman I see there almost every time I go to work out, walks up to me and says, "Where were you, bro? I hope you didn't decide to change gym." Using your assertive, dominant male testosterone to help the elderly put groceries in their car. Just generally being secure in yourself and not worrying about whether or not you're manly and instead just being yourself. Tucking in your homies and giving them a soft kiss goodnight.
What do you call a flat-chested emo girl?
What?
A cutting board.
Jesus Christ, I don't even know why I still listen to you.
What's an emo's favorite game? Hangman.
Why?
Why did the orphan commit a crime? So he could feel wanted.
Yep, it's time for you to go.
What shoes do pedophiles wear? White Vans.
This is never gonna end, is it?
Secret codes are all around us that only people in the know recognize. When I worked at a supermarket many years ago, we had code 12 which was called on the speakers if they saw a very attractive person in the store. The code would also say where so, for example code 12 bread. 437737 means herpes in online dating. I saw a profile of a girl saying she has 437,737 cats and thought I'm sure that number has some significance. Apparently if a person puts that number in their profile it means they have herpes and they want to let people know without getting embarrassed. The Jeep wave. I rode in a Jeep for the first time a few weeks ago and got waved at a few times before I asked what was going on. When dealing with the Japanese, that will be very difficult means no. In Indonesia, whenever you're dealing with anyone working in the government, police officers, custom officers, airport security, etc., when they start talking about how strict the rules are or how they need to meet some sort of quota, that means they're expecting a big bribe. I tend to play dumb and go, oh, okay then, I guess I'll just have to throw this thing out, go to court, not bother getting this document. It's fun watching them panic and try to find a subtle way of asking for a bribe without saying they want a bribe. When you're on a Windows computer, Alt F4 will unlock the extra core, letting your computer run way faster.
My mate broke his leg so I went to see him at home. I walked in and what do I see? He had two gorgeous older sisters, and they're twins. I had never met them before, apparently they live at the uni and were visiting. Anyway, so I went up to my friend's room. How are you, mate? Yeah, I'm okay. But do me a favor, mate. Go fetch my socks from downstairs. My feet are freezing. He tells me. So I rushed downstairs and found his two sisters perched up on the couch, right where his socks lay. I say to them, your brother has sent me down here to have sex with both of you. They respond, get away with ya. Prove it. I shouted upstairs, hey, mate. Both of them. He shouted back, of course, both of them. What's the point in fucking one?
What are underrated websites and what do you use them for? Shitexpress.com. Send a package of poop to someone all around the world. By paying with Bitcoin also makes the sender anonymous. PublicDataCheck.com. Provides complete background reports, which includes criminal and driving records. Look up your friends and family anonymously. Uroway.org. The drug community knows about this one. This website is still one of the best websites for unbiased information about recreational drugs. This site has literally saved lives. CamelCamelCamel.com. Tracks the price history of something on Amazon so you can see if a sale is actually a good deal. A soft murmur lets you play all kinds of soothing background noises, like rain, wind, birdsong, waves, and rolling thunder. You can also overlay them to make your perfect background mix, which is perfect if you want to relax to the gentle sounds of a coffee shop on fire. 10-minute mail. No need to use my own email to read a random website. I made a Reddit account using these emails. Some good unethical life hacks. Buy the cheapest tickets available for a sporting event. Once inside, check Ticketmaster and StubHub for better seats that didn't sell and go sit there. Whenever buying something online, try using the coupon code military. Many sites have a military discount and don't require any proof of military service. I have seen up to 30% off with this coupon code. If you plan on going to prison, learn to cut hair. Barbers are greatly appreciated by other inmates and you'll likely be spared when it comes to prison violence. Need friends? Create an attractive fake Tinder profile of the opposite sex. Start leading on a bunch of people. Arrange a date with all of them on the same time, same place. Show up as well. Announce that they must have pulled a prank on all of you and suggest you all go drinking together. If you are a small business owner with a significant competitor, hire homeless people to bother their customers. If you're stuck on an annoying call, put your phone on airplane mode instead of just hanging up. The other person will see call failed instead of call ended. Send a wedding invite to every billionaire you can find an address for, as there's a good chance their assistants just send you a gift without ever confirming who you are or if their boss knows you.
What's the worst form of torture to have ever existed? My vote goes out for the goats. You take rope and tie someone to a chair. Strap them down so that they move their legs or arms. Then take a big bucket of salt water, then dip their feet in it. Leave them like that for about a day with their feet just soaking in salt water. Once the day is up, kick the chair over so their feet are up in the air. Then bring in a goat. It'll find his salt-soaked feet and start licking. And it won't stop licking. It'll keep licking past the flesh and muscle all the way down to the bone. And you know what doesn't get bored? A goat licking salt. You can scream and try to kick, but that persistent salt licker won't give up. It will just stand then on all fours and lick at your feet with a coarse tongue for hours. The worst part is it's just the victim and a goat in a room. Nobody to plead with or confess to or bargain with. Just a goat that likes salt. That goat would be the most dedicated, hardworking, and empathetic torturer you've ever seen.
I did it. 7 years ago, when I was 24, my wife was killed in a horrible car accident, leaving me, in complete shock and grief, as a single father to our 2 kids. At the time they were 1 and 3 years old. I didn't have any post-high school education and was working as a construction worker. Before my wife passed away, we both worked full-time and were able to rent a small but nice house. But as a single working parent, I could hardly make ends meet and had to move into a tiny apartment. That Christmas, when I didn't have enough money left over to get my kids the gifts they deserved, I really knew I had to do something. I started taking college classes at night while working 2 jobs, and after 5 long years, I graduated with a BS in mechanical engineering and got a job making 6 figures. I bought a nice house with a huge yard for my kids to play in, built them a treehouse, and have enough time off to spend plenty of time with them. Last week, I took them on a camping trip in the mountains. It's not until now that I really let myself believe that I actually did it. Men of Reddit, is it boring to see your girlfriend/wife's naked body after a while of being together? Why or why not? I think boring is too strong of a word. You get accustomed to seeing it. Think about good food. You know how it tastes and looks, so it's not surprising to you anymore, but you still want to eat it every chance you get. No, because boobs. Not at all. Been married 18 years and I can't help but stare when she changes. I just stop whatever I'm doing and blatantly stare. She smiles a shy, flattered smile and continues changing. I'll often tell her somewhere in there how beautiful she is. Nah. She's still as beautiful as she was 20 years ago. There's a lot of stories on her body. Stretch marks, C-section scars, and plenty more. However, they tell our story of 2 mid-30s young adults who were once teenagers that have dismantled every brick thrown at us. Married for 22, together for 23. Not even a little bit boring to see any part of her naked. Once I find something I like, I don't stop liking it. I've had oatmeal for breakfast almost every single day for 40 years and still talk about how good it is. Can you imagine how I feel about my wife? No, I just wish she believed me and would show it a little more. Atheists, what do you believe in? Serious, I believe in a universe that doesn't care, and people that do. There is no plan, no grand design. There is what happens and how we respond to it. Justice only exists to the extent we create it. We can't count on supernatural justice to balance the scales in the afterlife, so we need to do the best we can to make it work out in the here and now. My life and the life of every other human being is something that was extremely unlikely. That makes it rare, precious, and worth preserving. Nothing outside of us assigns meaning to our lives. We have to create meaning for our lives ourselves. Nothing. Serious. You're born. You live. You die. That's it. After you die you cease to exist, the same as before you were born. Myself. I've always been there for me. Science, how dope nature is. We need to look out for each other because help isn't coming.
Am I the a-hole for returning home after I found out that my husband booked first class for him and his friend while I got economy? My husband and I 30s haven't been on a trip, out of country, for years, while he goes every year with his best friend. His reasons for going with him is because they both go to attend sporting events. This year, my husband told me I could go with him and his friend since they were visiting a new destination. He paid for my ticket and everything else since I'm a SOM and have no job. The kids were left with my mom. However, when I found out that he had booked first class for himself and his friend while I got economy, I just couldn't hold my tongue. I confronted him about it and he at first refused to discuss. Then when the argument got heated he yelled, "I paid for your ticket for frick's sake. Isn't that enough?" Then kept on about how I should stop acting like I was royalty, and that if I come to think about it, even economy is fine for me since, technically, don't work anyway. I cried because of what he said but decided to just not go altogether. He changed his tone and started begging me to just go with what he planned, but I declined. I went to pick the kids from my mom's house and he came back 3 hours later huffing and buffing about what happened. His friend sent me a text calling me entitled, and said this was the reason why he didn't want my husband to take me with them, and I just proved his point. I did not respond but I blocked him since he's gotten increasingly rude over the past few months. He, my husband, said I keep crying about being excluded and this is what happens when he finally decides to include me. Am I the a-hole for not settling for economy? By the way, he's perfectly capable of financing the trip.
Of Reddit, what's the saddest scene you have ever witnessed? A 9-month-old baby girl was brought in that had been raped and sodomized. The mother had left her baby with her boyfriend to go to grocery store. She came home finding the baby bloody and convulsing. She brought her baby to us in the ER. The doctor quickly discovered the baby girl had been raped and sodomized. We did our best to stop the baby from convulsing so she could go in for much-needed emergency surgery. Unfortunately, the little thing died from severe internal injuries. The doctor called the mother in and explained what had happened. We were all angry, very angry. The mother had no idea what was wrong. She became livid. She went mad. She lost her mind for a while. She was screaming with heartbreak. It was horrible. Then Mama Bear kicked in. She literally tried to jerk her boyfriend's heart out of his chest. He was there the entire time by her side acting innocent and caring. Meanwhile, the social worker called the police. While we the staff were trying to keep each other from attacking the boyfriend, we were so angry. The tears in that ER that night could have made a river. The guy was arrested, admitted to his crime in jail. He got life for murder and rape of a child. It was so sad to see that mother's pain. It was sad to see the pain in my co-worker's eyes. The anguish was palpable. I was a mess because I had a 10-month-old baby girl at home. I could not wait to get home to hold her. Doctors of Reddit, what's the saddest scene you have ever witnessed? A 9-month-old baby girl was brought in that had been raped and sodomized. The mother had left her baby with her boyfriend to go to grocery store. She came home finding the baby bloody and convulsing. She brought her baby to us in the ER. The doctor quickly discovered the baby girl had been raped and sodomized. We did our best to stop the baby from convulsing so she could go in for much-needed emergency surgery. Unfortunately, the little thing died from severe internal injuries.